It was on Jones Bridge Road in North Fulton County, very close to the Forsyth County line. I'm sorry, I can't think of the closest intersection, but he was about, I believe, maybe 200 yards from his home. It was about 8:15 or so. He was not conscious, and he was laying face down in a pool of blood. And when I walked up, I noticed that nobody was doing anything. They were just kind of staying around. They said, well, he's unconscious, and we've called 911, and there was an off-duty policeman directing traffic in the street. So Michael was about, he was on the side of the road, kind of in a ditch. So I was standing next to Michael. I don't know anything about Michael, and I really just learned his name when I saw the news report. But I called to the off-duty policeman, said, well, he doesn't have an airway. You know, he's lying face down and he's bleeding. There's no way to get him air. Right. And the bystanders who were there said, well, he's unconscious, and we called 911. You know, they said that same thing. So I convinced the policeman to come over and turn Michael so that his face was, at least air could get to his nose. Yeah. When we turned him, and I'm trying to be very careful here so as to not make you grieve too terribly, but when we turned him, I could see the extent of the damage to his face. It was pretty bad, and his left side of his face was a terrible wound there. So I had a reaction. I said, "Oh my God, he's gone!" And the policeman said, "Yeah, he's gone." And he walked back to handle the traffic, and so I started praying for him, and I did the best I could to remember the prayer of the last rites, and tracing the sign of the cross on his forehead, on his lips, and his hands. And in the middle of that, his body convulsed, and he made a sound, and it sounded like he was trying to breathe. It only lasted a couple of moments, and after that, he didn't move again. And by that time, the EMT was driving up. But I don't think he was conscious. I learned later that he was pronounced dead at the scene. When the emergency people got there, I told them that he was unconscious, but that his body was writhing, and then they said thank you and step back, and so I stepped back and prayed the rosary and watched them, and they didn't. I was about 40 feet away, and I couldn't hear what they were saying. But nothing really was done. They got him onto a stretcher, and there was really no activity. So later I read in the paper that they pronounced him dead at the scene. So I assumed that when they got him on the stretcher and they saw how much blood he had lost and that he had no pulse, that was it. Let's see, it was a Forsyth County paper. That's where I read the news account, and that's when I found the funeral home website. Because for several days after the accident, I didn't see any news information anywhere. His sister called me, and we talked for a long time. So we've talked. We've spoken twice, but that's it. I think she was comforted to know that he didn't die alone. That somebody was there to at least pray for him. But that there was no miracle or anything. It's nothing. It's not a very big deal. It's just that we've been praying for his soul. So he didn't go alone. And she thought that maybe his body reacted. It could have been a coincidence, but maybe that was his last moment when his body convulsed like that. So, but I haven't talked to anybody else, and I think she just kind of relayed that story. Yes, it was pretty awful. And I think that the circumstances around the accident are very hard for the family to bear, it sounds like. So many questions, so it seems so senseless. So I'm sure his parents are having a hard time. Well, it's up to us, to pray for his soul and hope for the best. Right? And that's what during the prayers that I was praying. I don't know if you've ever seen The Last Rites Done. Well, what can we do for the family now except pray, right? You can offer your sacrifices now for Michael. Right. Well, then Michael's counting on your prayers, right?
Yes.
Because we as Catholics, we believe in purgatory, that it's not a bad thing. I'll be happy to make it to purgatory,
Right.
It's then the next place is heaven.
Right.
But even if it's how much his family loves him and misses him, it's too bad that they're not praying for him. But still, he can rely on you as a good friend then.
Yes, and I hope not to disappoint him.
Right. That's good. Well, prayers and sacrifices. Well, I encourage you to keep with the faith, my friend. There's a reason a lot of things are happening, and I'm sure Michael remembers you right now. But it reminds us of our own mortality, right?
Right.
The mortality rate is 100% for humans.
Right.
There's no way to change that.
Yeah.
Stay close to the good Lord. That's all we can do, right? Keep the faith, my friend.